El presidente de Estados Unidos ya no puede sostener el cerco informativo. Entre su crisis de salud y los vínculos que lo rodean, en el caso Epstein, la última salida ha sido desaparecerse, esta vez con un viaje de golf, e incluso esa escapatoria colapsó. Pam Bondi, que ya registraba un desempeño algo cuestionable, consiguió superarse a sí misma con un desliz que dejó al descubierto un listado secreto de asociados de Epstein, incluido en una presentación judicial del Departamento de Justicia. MSNBC lo adelantó y hoy ponemos todo en orden: conexiones, dinero y por qué esto complica todavía más la Casa Blanca. Recordatorio rápido: si les interesa este análisis, apóyenos con un me gusta, suscribiéndose y comentando. El 98% de quienes nos ven aún no están suscritos. Ayuden a crecer esta comunidad llegando a 1000 suscriptores. Sin más, hacemos con la noticia.
What happened to the lawyer who got Epstein his bizarrely lenient plea deal when he was first arrested on sex trafficking charges in Florida? What happened to the lawyer who got him that bizarrely lenient plea deal? Well, Trump hired him to be his own lawyer. What happened to the U.S. attorney who gave Jeffrey Epstein that bizarrely lenient plea deal? Trump put him in his cabinet in his first term. Well, who then prosecuted Epstein a second time when he was brought up on federal charges? That was the SDNY line prosecutor who Trump inexplicably fired last week. Who was in charge of the Department of Justice and the Bureau of Prisons when Epstein then killed himself in federal custody? President Donald Trump. Who bragged to a reporter about how much Epstein seemed to like women on the younger side? Who said Epstein was a lot of fun to be with? Who bragged that he was friends with Epstein for 15 years? Who flew on his plane at least 7 times? And who now says that everybody needs to stop talking about Jeffrey Epstein right now? Answers there are Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump, and Donald Trump.
Lo relevante no es solo la relación personal con Epstein, sino la red institucional que se activó alrededor. Abogados, fiscales y funcionarios con capacidad de definir procesos críticos. Ese entramado explica la resistencia actual a divulgar información completa.
You know what is so interesting? As I sat there and I listened, I was like, this is like a ridiculous RICO case. I mean, the levels of complexity and the levels of organizations that participated. We're talking about allegations that there were attorneys that were doing sham marriages, bringing ladies from Russia and Ukraine over. We're talking about specifically them potentially having links to foreign governments. We're talking about little girls. We're talking about this happening to little girls, but also to young college girls. We're talking about all of the people that participated. It wasn't just Maxwell, it wasn't just Epstein, but we're talking about the fact that there were drivers that were driving these girls and knew what they were doing. There were butlers, there were cooks, there were lawyers, there were accountants, all of these people that were engaged, and we don't know their names. And so there's a lot of people that are still out there that needs to be held.
Ese es el punto neurálgico. Epstein y Maxwell no actuaron en el vacío. Hubo apoyo, dinero y silencios operativos. Cada nuevo documento sin tachaduras puede identificar a quienes facilitaron, encubrieron o financiaron todo este problema.
Let's go first to NBC's Yamiche Alcindor at the White House with an NBC News exclusive. There's some new information within just this last hour, Yamiche, on the Epstein investigation. So what have we learned so far, and what's going to come next?
Well, good afternoon, Alex. Just in the last hour, our colleague Tom Winter broke the news that the DOJ on Friday asked a federal judge overseeing the case of deceased sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein to deny a request from NBC News to unseal the names of 2 associates who received large payments from Epstein in 2018, court documents show. The Justice Department cited privacy concerns expressed by the 2 individuals as the reason for not making their names public. Now, the first associate received a payment of $100,000 from Epstein. The second associate received a payment of $250,000. Now, both of those payments happened in 2018, just days after the Miami Herald began publishing a series of stories where victims criticized a plea deal Epstein received in Florida in 2008. Now, as part of that plea agreement, Epstein secured a statement from federal prosecutors in Florida that the 2 people would not be prosecuted. Now, the payments became public after Epstein was indicted and arrested in New York in 2019. And just last month, NBC News sent a letter asking a federal judge to unseal the redacted names because Epstein's dead, the criminal proceedings have ended, and the DOJ said in a memo in July that there would be no additional charges filed against uncharged third parties. The judge has now given NBC News until September 12th to respond to the DOJ's request that the names remain secret. It's not known when the judge will make a final decision about NBC News' request. Now, of course, all of this comes as there's a bipartisan effort to release more files related to Jeffrey Epstein. Take a listen to lawmakers.
Less than 1% of these files have been released. We are demanding today on the discharge petition that all of the files be released. If you've looked at the pages they've released so far, they're heavily redacted. Some pages are entirely redacted. And 97% of this is already in the public domain. So I'm calling on my colleagues, be one of the next two who sponsors this discharge petition.
So, of course, Alex, it's striking to see Republicans and Democrats joining forces to push for more files. But President Trump insists that everything that could have been released has now been released, Alex.
Got to tell you, it's a hell of a story from Tom Winter. He may have opened a can of worms here, and you have very carefully and thoroughly reported this, Yamiche, in a very short period of time. Thank you so much.
Aquí les haré una traducción política, por así decirlo. El propio escrito del Departamento de Justicia reconoce transferencias cuantiosas y contemporáneas a la reapertura del escándalo. No estamos ante protección de víctimas, por supuesto debe garantizarse, sino ante un ocultamiento asociado remunerado. Esa frontera es nítida y es donde la Casa Blanca quiere bajar la cortina.
Chairman Jordan's made it clear he's not going to give us a hearing devoted exclusively to the Epstein files, but Pam Bondi is coming in soon, Kash Patel is coming in soon, and we will have the opportunity to question them. And, you know, it's not as good as having one hearing just devoted to it, but the Democrats will make sure that we get very deeply into this.
I spoke with your colleague, Congresswoman Stansbury, last night, and she said, we've all learned so much over the last couple of months. It's really expanded, at least my perception of the scope here. She said that she thinks that there could be thousands of victims. I mean, it feels like it could be a much larger cover-up than we even thought it was a few months ago. You were very deeply dug into this. What do you think?
Yeah, and Melanie's absolutely right about that, and that's why it's so excellent that the victims have come to the fore and are acting in such a brave way to both articulate their own experiences, but to talk about this systemic problem. On the Judiciary Committee side, we're going to be releasing an explosive report early next week about how the Trump administration has been systematically dismantling the anti-human trafficking and anti-domestic violence programs and grants across the federal government. Human trafficking programs at the Department of State, at the Department of Justice, at Health and Human Services, USAID, you name it. And we've collected all of that, and we're going to show people that this is an administration that is on the side of the human traffickers and the sex abusers. And if you look at Donald Trump's pardons, and if you look at various actions taken by the Department of Justice, they are overwhelmingly on the side of sexual offenders and human traffickers. So this is not like one kind of lonely, discrete, one-off episode we're talking about. This is now becoming clear, a whole system that the Trump administration is committed to.
We will definitely look out for that report, and thanks for the work in compiling it. It's not a surprise that that's what they have been doing. I want to get your reaction to something Speaker Mike Johnson said yesterday when defending Trump's claim that the whole Epstein matter is a hoax. It was kind of bizarre, but take a look.
It's been misrepresented. He's not saying that what Epstein did is a hoax. It's a terrible, unspeakable evil. He believes that himself. When he first heard the rumor, he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. He was an FBI informant to try to take this stuff down.
I mean, the last part of that was, I don't know, it was a little mind-blowing, but what did you make of what he said?
Well, a hoax is a corruption scandal or a crime that Donald Trump doesn't want anybody talking about anymore. It couldn't be any clearer. And I'm glad that the victims were indignant and outraged about that slur on their experience and their advocacy today. There's nothing hoax-like about this. And if it's a Democrat hoax, as he claims, he started it. because he was the one who was saying, let's go ahead and release all the files. And then after he had 1,000 FBI agents working around the clock to discover what was actually in there, that's when he decided, oh no, nothing to see here. Everybody just go home and forget about it. The public is not going to let this go. And those files have got to be released. The real question is to what extent they've already redacted or damaged information in there. But we don't need these retread files that they've been sending over the last several weeks. We need the files they're not sending. Those are the ones that we have to demand. And I'm glad that we've got 4 brave Republicans on our side and every Democrat in the House of Representatives demanding a complete accounting of this nightmarish child sex.
La reacción oficial define el problema. Si todo ya se entregó, ¿por qué blindar 2 nombres con pagos verificados? El intento de clausurar el asunto antes de una publicación íntegra multiplica las dudas y anima a más legisladores, incluso republicanos, a respaldar la petición de descarga. Entonces, ya terminando el video, vamos a abarcar todo lo que vimos. Esto se puede traducir en 4 hechos. El rastro financiero identificable de los pagos del 2018 que el Departamento de Justicia pide mantener en reserva, la admisión operativa de que hay terceros no acusados con incentivos para seguir ocultos, la atracción bipartidista para abrir archivos completos con resguardo de víctimas y por último tenemos la estrategia defensiva fallida en la Casa Blanca, la cual siempre hemos visto en este canal: negar, minimizar y cerrar en vez de establecer un plan de divulgación verificable. Un gobierno sólido no teme el escrutinio, define un procedimiento, fija salvaguardas y cumple los plazos. La insistencia en reservar nombres de asociados y no de víctimas tras monto y fechas precisas deteriora la autoridad presidencial ante el Congreso. Esto complica las relaciones con el sistema judicial y va a reforzar la percepción ciudadana de inmunidad para los élites. Si el Ejecutivo no corrige, el Congreso impondrá el ritmo y el contenido de la transparencia. Por último, si este análisis les resultó útil, suscríbanse, dejen un me gusta y compartan este video. Como dijimos al inicio, el 98% de quienes nos ven no están suscritos. Ayúdenos a crecer esta comunidad y llegar a 1000 suscriptores. Nos vemos en el próximo Rumor de Estado.